Pronation, rising, ulnar, wrist
And
flexion,
supination.
calf raises made my forearms and calves more solid. But what about the measurements? Stick around till the end because there's a twist to this challenge. So, let's measure two things: size and strength. At day 1, my forearms measured around 11.5 inches and my calves at 14 inches. I went into this challenge because I've always had lagging calves and lagging forearms. I've got a decent build when I wear fitted clothes and sleeveless tops, but when I wear one size larger shirts, I become too much of a sleeper build. Sleeper build is cool! Plus, having more defined forearms and calves would instantly make you look like you're pretty strong compared to when you barely have anything. So last month, I was scrolling through my YouTube feed and I came across this guy named Roger C. He's trained his forearms for literally a year at this point, but as someone with around 6-inch wrists, I had to watch that. So I want to give credit to Roger C for the routine I initially followed, which was 5 sets of 50 to 60 reps of pronation and rising. I did the first with resistance bands, but I was like, you know what? I want some serious gains. So I manned up, put around 9 kilograms of weights in a bag and started going from there. On week 1, I was already feeling great from the stimulus. I already had significant progress with my numbers as I had already done forearm training 4 to 5 months prior to this challenge. But I had to stop that because I got injured on my wrist. I also started doing calf raises around day 4 because I also happened to stumble upon Team 3D Alpha once again because the YouTube algorithm is listening to every move I make. Anyways, basically, Megan states in his basic programming for nucleus overload, which was technically the kind of training I was doing, that you can train 2 muscles or 2 muscle groups with nucleus overload training. On week 2, I'm already seeing gains because I've been doing these exercises every day. And on week 2, I decided to include movements for my forearms, which were ulnar movements, ulnar deviation, and wrist
And
flexion.
supination.
I wanted to maximize the gains. I also added like a stretch position for my calf raises, so that drastically lowered down my numbers. And also, one of the reasons that my numbers went down on both muscle groups is because I was doing them non-stop. I almost got sick because I didn't let myself recover. So on week 3, I learned to chill the out. I continued doing these exercises and I decided to lift the bag of weights with one arm for each movement. Of course, I was scared to do this because I didn't want to go on an excruciatingly long hiatus from another possible injury. But thankfully, I didn't get injured. So there's that. But the hard part is when I'm going outside for work. I had to work out through other means, so I did self-resistance training. On week 4, I started going downhill because I simply just cannot keep this amount of volume for this long, especially with my lifestyle. I was aiming for the numbers so much that I basically crashed and burned. I burnt out, but still I continued doing these, but with more controlled intensity. So, the results: my forearms on day 1 measured around 11.5 inches. On day 30, it measured around 11.5 inches. My calves on day 1 measured around 14 inches. On day 30, measured around 14 inches. My wrist size on day 1 was measured around 6.2 inches. But on day 30, it was 6.3. Now, I'm celebrating these measurements because the measurement that I didn't reveal at the beginning of this video was that on day 1, I was 163 pounds. And on day 30, I was 154 pounds. That's 9 pounds of difference on a calorie deficit. But my forearms and calves became more defined and it actually became more visible than it ever had. But with all the measurements done, how about the strength? First off, I could only put up a challenge in arm wrestling in terms of strength before the challenge. But when I started training, I beat some of my friends in arm wrestling, which they had previously beat me before. And with calves, I had more endurance when it came to any kind of leg training and I had less cramps, or actually I didn't have any cramps. Now with all these measurements done, what did I learn with this kind of training? What I learned was that Megan was right, Roger C was right, and I was right. You see, during the pandemic, I became obsessed with doing push-ups and pull-ups, and it grew my muscles because that was my primary goal. I applied that similar training for my forearms and calves for 30 days only, and I got decent results, better results than I had anticipated. And what I also learned was that I was wrong, because when you train every day, you also tend to be addicted to doing it and not getting enough recovery. And also, when you're going too intense every day, you gotta keep track of your numbers and compensation. Now, would I recommend this kind of training? Absolutely. This is like a hat if you are either a beginner or you have lagging body parts that you want to hyper focus. But don't be mistaken. This kind of training is not the ultimate way to train, as with others. In short, every training style is effective as long as you're providing the precise amount of stimulus, and most of all, if you prioritize your ability to recover. Your muscles don't grow during the workouts. They grow while you recover. Whether it be training every day, training once a week, it's all about stimulus and recovering your body. This has been Marco, and thank you for sticking with me throughout the video. I'd appreciate it if you let me know your thoughts on this topic. Let me know also if you want me to do these kinds of experiments in the future. If you like the video, drop a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.